This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
Following American instructions, stay inside and out of the way, had been almost instantly destroyed. By the time the Black Hawk arrived, the woman had died. The aircraft flew into a trap. Automatic fire erupted. Kalashnikov rifles joined in. The Taliban had been waiting and ambushed the aircraft as its wheels settled toward the ground. The lieutenant and sergeant ran into view, arms waving, warding the pilots off. Their company commander shouted to a radio operator, "Abort! Abort! Tell him to abort!" The helicopter lurched forward, gathering speed. A rocket-propelled grenade whooshed into the whirling tower of dust. An explosion boomed behind the Black Hawk's tail rotor. A near miss. The helicopter flew across the field, banked, and put down near the company commander to pick up a wounded Marine, whom the sniper had shot. Then it was gone. A lull replaced the din. Young men muttered curses. Inside the compound, Afghan soldiers working with the Marines covered the dead with cloth. A Taliban commander, overheard on his own radio frequency, berated his fighters in Pashto for missing the Black Hawk. He'd almost realized his prize. "That was your chance," he said. These Marines were almost all young men on their first enlistments, the type of citizen who serves for 4 years and returns to civilian life. They were thoroughly trained, visibly fit, thoughtfully equipped, and generally eager to participate in what they were told would be a historic fight, a campaign preordained for American military lore. Most of them were also so new to war that the dead women and children were the first casualties they had seen. Many of them wanted then, and still want now, to connect their battlefield service to something greater than a memory reel of gunfights, explosions, and grievous wounds. They wanted to understand accidental killings as isolated mistakes in a campaign characterized by sound strategy, moral authority, and lasting success. They didn't get this. At least, not all of it. Instead, the Major General commanding NATO forces in southern Afghanistan circulated a publicly palatable version. The HIMARS rockets, he said, hit the correct building after all. For years, the Marine Corps and the Pentagon said little more, even as Marja, seized by Marines and then held by their Afghan army and police partners, returned to Taliban and drug baron control. This book is about men and women who served in American combat service in the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq that followed the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. It covers these combatants with a simple organizing idea, that they are human. It details personal experiences, what these experiences were, how they unfolded, and what effects they had upon those who were there. And it covers them from their own perspectives, offering their own interpretations of their wars. More than 2.7 million Americans have served in Afghanistan or Iraq since late 2001. Many went to both wars. Nearly 7,000 of them died, and tens of thousands more were wounded. President Donald Trump's Chief of Staff, retired Marine Corps General John F. Kelly, who lost a son in combat in Afghanistan, and under whom I briefly served 3 decades ago when he led the course that trains new Marine infantry officers, called these men and women the best 1% this country produces. He added, "Most of you as Americans don't know them. Many of you don't know anyone who knows any one of them." This book is an effort to remedy that, in part through demystification. In doing so, it also rejects many senior officer views. It channels those who did the bulk of the fighting with the unapologetic belief that the voices of combatants of the lower and middle rank are more valuable, and more likely to be candid and rooted in battlefield experience than those of the generals and admirals who order them to action, and often try to speak for them, too. No single military unit or individual character can capture the breadth of the national projects the wars became. But the cross-section of characters who follow represents the experiences of a significant portion. Many of them served in the infantry or the special forces, or performed jobs as a strike fighter or scout helicopter pilot, or as a corpsman that were closely connected with infantry life.